Hi, boys and girls. This week in reading, we are going to learn about the author's purpose. An author is the person who wrote the text. So, why do authors write? Well, they have one of three reasons or three purposes. It's easy as pie to remember. Look how we spell pie, P-I-E. The P stands for persuade, the I stands for inform, and the E stands for entertain. Now, those are really big words. What do those words mean? Well, let's look at it a little bit closer. Persuade is when the author tries to convince the reader to do something or to agree with him on something. Okay, so you might try to persuade Mrs. Hanson to give you extra recess, or you might try to persuade or convince your parents to buy you that new Xbox game. Persuading is when you try to convince someone to do something or convince them to believe the same way you do. Inform is when the author gives facts and information about a topic. So if you were to read a book about sharks that tell you all the different kinds of sharks that live in the ocean, what they eat, and all about them, that would be informing you or telling you information, facts. Entertain is when the authors write so that the reader can enjoy. Okay, so how do you figure out the author's purpose? First, you look for clues about the genre. So, is this fiction? Is this a made up story? Or is this nonfiction or informational? Then you ask questions about what you read and find answers. And remember, good readers always monitor and clarify. They ask questions about what they read. So let's read a book called Giraffes Can't Dance by Giles Andreed and Guy Parker Reese. And we are going to try to figure out what the author's purpose is for writing this book. So we're trying to figure out, why did the author write this? Did the author write this to persuade us, to convince us to believe the way he does, or to convince us to do something? Or did the author write this to inform us, to teach us real facts about something real? Or did the author write this for our entertainment, for our enjoyment? Giraffes can't dance. Giraffes can't dance. Gerald was a tall giraffe whose neck was long and slim, but his knees were awfully bandy and his legs were rather thin. He was very good at standing still and munching shoots off trees. Now, let's stop right there and let's monitor and clarify. I don't know what that means. Munching shoots off trees. So let's use our visual clues. I see the giraffe munching this little sprig hanging off the tree. Oh, so a shoot must be like a leaf, like a stick with leaves on it. So he was very good at standing still and munching shoots off trees, but when he tried to run around, he buckled at the knees. I'm using my visual clues to figure out that buckling at the knees means, oh, his knees are giving out and he's falling down. Now, every year in Africa, they hold the jungle dance where every single animal turns up to skip and prance. And this year, when the day arrived, poor Gerald felt so sad because when it came to dancing, he was really very bad. The warthogs started waltzing and the rhinos rock and rolled. The lions danced a tango, which was elegant and bold. The chimps all did a cha-cha with a very Latin feel, and 8 baboons then teamed up for a splendid Scottish reel. Gerald swallowed bravely as he walked towards the floor, but the lions saw him coming, and they soon began to roar. "Hey, look at clumsy Gerald!" The animals all laughed. "Giraffes can't dance, you silly fool. Oh, Gerald, don't be daft." Gerald simply froze up. He was rooted to the spot. "They're right," he thought. "I'm useless. Oh, I feel like such a clot." So he crept off from the dance floor and he started walking home. He'd never felt so sad before. So sad and so alone. Then he found a little clearing and he looked up at the sky. "The moon can be so beautiful," he whispered with a sigh. "Excuse me," coughed a cricket who'd seen Gerald earlier on. "But sometimes when you're different, you just need a different song." "Listen to the swaying grass and listen to the trees. To me, the sweetest music is those branches in the trees." So imagine that lovely moon is playing just for you. Everything makes music if you really want it to. With that, the cricket smiled and picked up his violin. Then Gerald felt his body do the most amazing thing. What do you think he's doing? His hooves had started shuffling, making circles on the ground. His neck was gently swaying, and his tail was swishing round. He threw his arms out sideways, and he swung them everywhere. Then he did a backward somersault and leapt up in the air. Gerald felt so wonderful. His mouth was open wide. "I am dancing. Yes, I'm dancing. I am dancing," Gerald cried. Then one by one, each animal who'd been there at the dance arrived while Gerald boogied on and watched him quite entranced. They shouted, "It's a miracle. We must be in a dream. Gerald's the best dancer that we've ever seen." "How is it you can dance like that? Please, Gerald, show us how. Tell us how." Boys and girls, do you see how I read that wrong? I said, "show us how." And what good readers do when they make a mistake, they stop, they go back, and they reread. So that's what I did. I stopped, I went back, and I reread. "Please, Gerald, tell us how." But Gerald simply twizzled round and finished with a bow. Then he raised his head and looked up at the moon and stars above. "We all can dance," he said, "when we find music that we love." Okay, so what is the author's purpose? What is the author's purpose of this book, Giraffes Can't Dance? Giraffes Can't Dance. Well, let's go through our pie. Let's see. P is for persuade, to convince the reader of a certain point of view. Was the author trying to convince us to agree with him about something? No, not really. Was the author trying to convince us to do something? No. So I think we can mark that out. It was not to persuade. That's not why the author wrote this book. Let's move to I for inform. Remember, inform means to teach or give information to the reader. Did this book give us real facts about real giraffes in the real world? No. It had a talking giraffe. Wait a minute, that can't happen in the real world. The giraffe was dancing. It didn't tell me about types of, where they live, types of habitats, and how big they can get. It didn't didn't teach me anything about real giraffes. It did not inform me about real giraffes. So I don't think that the author's purpose is to inform. Well, that leaves entertain, to hold the attention of the reader through enjoyment. Oh, that's why this author wrote this book, so that I would enjoy it. So the author's purpose of this book is to entertain. So the reason the author wrote it is to entertain his readers. Now I would like you to listen to an author's purpose song.
B-I-E, B-I-E, B-I-E. The author's got to have a purpose, got to have some pie. Persuade, inform, entertain. Don't forget to have some pie. B-I-E. Some pie. B-I-E. Today I'm gonna write something, but I'm not sure what to say. I must choose my words carefully. It's the only way to explain. Somebody say P. P is for persuade. It's the first letter in our pie. It means we've got to convince our readers that we know what we're talking about. Here's why. Because the author's gotta have a purpose, got to have some pie. Persuade, inform, entertain. Don't forget to have some pie. B-I-E. Some pie. B-I-E. Somebody say I. I is for inform. We've got to teach a reader what we know. Inform means to educate. Our words will help the readers grow. Somebody say E. E stands for entertain. Our readers got to have some fun. Do you enjoy reading every single word you write? Chances are so will everyone. You see, the author's gotta have a purpose, got to have some pie. Persuade, inform, entertain. Don't forget to have some pie. Some pie.